A&M. And here is how the final call sounded on the Vols Radio Network.
The pitch. Swing and a miss. That's the ball game. How about that? The Aggies scored 2 in the ninth, but the Volunteers, Tennessee, the climb is complete. They have reached the summit. The Volunteers are the very best in college baseball. And the championship flag has been planted on Rocky Top. For the 60th and final time this season, Tennessee says hello win column and hello national championship.
That is the great John Wilkerson on the call, the Vols Radio Network. And indeed, Tennessee gets it done last night. 6-5 over Texas A&M. This one, as usual with college baseball, would get a little dicey in the bottom in the last 3 innings. But Tennessee does get the win. Tennessee would end up leading this one at 1.6-1. The big inning for Tennessee, of course, would come in the 7th, where they would score 3 to add to that lead to get it 6-1. Dylan Drilling got the scoring started. 2-run home run, his 3rd in 3 games against the Aggies. And then a couple batters later, Hunter Ensley scores from first base on probably the play of the game. Ensley's creative slide saw him jolt to the side of Texas A&M catchers Jackson Apple. I mean, you saw this. He goes around the side and somehow, miraculously somehow avoids the tag. And that ends up being the game-winning run. Texas A&M would score a couple runs in the 8th and have 2 more on base when Kirby Connell was able to end the threat with a pair of strikeouts. Tennessee would bring in Aaron Combs for the 9th. Combs conceded a couple of runs but ends up striking out the side, as you heard, to finish the game. Tennessee is the first number 1 overall seed to win the national championship since 1999. After the game, as you might imagine, a very excited and jubilous Tony Vitello. Here is what Coach had to say after the game.
How you're feeling right now?
Yeah, just very surreal. Hard to center yourself, which is a good thing. Being lost in the moment, I guess. Nothing too intelligent to say, other than the first thing to say is I hope the fans that have turned this into an insane party, an insane event, got the series that they wanted and that they deserved. It clearly could have been either team's trophy tonight. So congrats to Texas A&M. You cross paths with players in Hoover and just on the field. And in particular, some of their mainstays are just incredibly cool guys. And then also, I was given an opportunity to experience something different than University of Missouri. So I owe, a thank you to the head coach of Texas A&M, who did a phenomenal job and made an incredible hire this year too. So congrats to Coach Schlossnagle and Texas A&M and their fans that have always kind of blown my mind ever since I was at Missouri. We went to a football game there, and it was unbelievable. Everybody was pretty friendly till Brad Smith did his thing, but Texas A&M's definitely won their fair share of football games. So enough rambling. No better team to win for University of Tennessee than a bunch of guys that were truly the definition of a team, and no better play for our program to, I think, be the winning run on that slide. A guy that's just built with a ton of grit, and his teammates follow his leadership, and it's a great example of how this group got things done.
Tennessee went 13 years without making the NCAA tournament before Tony Vitello got there. 5 straight NCAA tournament appearances now, $100 million in stadium upgrades, 3 straight College World Series berths. not through state, but 3 College World
3 out of
Series
4,
berths
yeah.
and 1 national title to top it off.
No, I mean the most unbelievable stat is the first one you gave, which before he got there, they hadn't even been to the NCAA tournament in 13 years. They were well done. I mean, they were really, really bad. After Rod Delmonico retired, Rod had got them to the World Series and were very competitive, and they had a really good program, but they struggled. I mean, they just could not find the right fit. Even Dave Serrano, who came over from Cal State Fullerton, he had a national championship level program over there, but the style of baseball didn't really fit, and it was more small ball. It was more what Kentucky does, and for whatever reason, they couldn't get it figured out. But Tony Vitello, he actually coached under Schlossnagle at TCU. He also coached under Dave Van Horn, and when he was hired, he was probably one of the, I'd say, the best recruiters in the country, and kind of like Brad Bohannon, except he doesn't bet on games. And at least you'd hope not. But he was kind of that kind of level of talent evaluator.
Right.
And obviously he transitioned. He's the son of a coach. He transitioned to the head coaching role better than Bohannon did. Bohannon, for whatever reason, I never thought looked comfortable being in the first seat, but Vitello certainly hit the ground running at Tennessee. He's built a powerhouse program there. Now it's going to be interesting, and that's why we got Jeff Howe coming on at the top of the next hour. He's going to be one of the top targets for the Texas job because David Pierce and Texas parted ways yesterday, and it had been rumored for about a week that he was going to be gone after 8 years. And honestly, the top 2 guys on their board are the 2 guys that just coached against each other, and that is Tony Vitello and Jim Schlossnagle, because Del Conte, the athletic director, knew both of them at TCU. So Chris Del Conte, it's going to be really interesting. Now, do I think, if you ask me honestly, is Texas going to hire either one of them? My suspicion would be no, because Texas A&M is about to do $80 million worth of upgrades for Schlossnagle. He left TCU, which he had built into one of the best programs in the country, after 18 years to go to A&M for a $1.5 million a year. They're 2 of the highest paid coaches in the country, so it's not really about money. You just mentioned what Tennessee's spending on Lindsey Nelson Stadium, which is $100 million.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why. And because LSU had kind of identified Vitello a couple of years ago. So, look, man, I just think they're going to try to make a run at both of them. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't expect, especially with
Schlossnagle's at an age too where he's not going to.
And he was
jump.
asked about it.
We got sound from that.
Yeah.
I'm sure
you'll.
Embarrassing though to ask him right after a loss like that. I know you got to. But,
you don't really have to, honestly. I think it's kind of garbage.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I think you should just you could ask about the future at A&M. What do you think the future of Aggie baseball is? You don't just have to come right out and ask him, hey, are you taking the Texas job?
after a loss in a national championship game. That was what. Yeah, we'll let you hear from that.
So, but I think it's going to be tough. The other name that they brought up, and this could be another one that could be gettable, is Eric Bakich at Clemson. Because I know he's making really good money, but let's be blunt. Clemson can't swing with Texas when it comes to money for baseball, because if you look at historically, and I'm talking about the history of college baseball, there's 3 programs that are above the rest of them as far as national championships, Omaha, what they've spent on the sport, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
And it's basically USC, but USC's been bad for a while, but they've got 12 national championships. It's kind of like UCLA. I mean, they've got a ton of them. They've still got the most. And then from the Rod Dado era, and they haven't won one since 98, but they have that history. You've got LSU, which is probably really, in the modern era, the best, because they've won 7, and then they've been to Omaha a ton. And then Texas has got 6. Haven't won one since the days of Augie Garrido when he finally hung it up. But they've also got the most Omaha appearances. They didn't make it this year, but they've got 38. And David Pierce went 3 times in 8 years. It's not like he didn't do a good job. I mean, but again, they have the certain level of expectation. So Texas is a big-time job, and Pierce was making over $1 million a year, so they're going to throw the money out.
Yes.
So we'll see. I mean, they're going to get a proven head coach. It's just kind of who are they going to get, and then what kind of dominoes is it going to set off. So this is going to be very interesting, and that's why I was able to get hooked up with Jeff Howe and going to talk about that and just kind of see where Texas is in this search. And it's interesting, though, that when you're reading about it and you're digging that the top two guys, and this was before the game now, this was not after.
Right.
This was before the national championship game, that they were the two most prominent guys mentioned. And so, but I just can't see Tony V, leaving Tennessee after he gets them to the top of the mountain. And Tennessee's going to shell out the money too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's the SEC, and Texas is coming in. I think that's one of the reasons they made the change, honestly, is because Scott, I mean, think about it. Pierce was doing okay, doing well, but he wasn't, dominating the Big 12, and they ain't in the Big 12 anymore. Okay,
no, they're in the SEC, and it's
tough.
And the SEC by far, had their best year of college baseball. 11 teams in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
This by far, I think, was their best year. Tennessee, to put it in perspective, Tennessee is the first SEC team to win 60 baseball games in a year.
Even LSU hasn't.
Right.
Alabama had some really good teams in the late 90s that didn't do that.
Well, think about all the Auburn teams in the last, 5 years that have gotten to the College
They've been there
World
twice.
Series.
Mississippi State's team didn't do it because they got
Miss
hot late.
won it in the last couple
Ole
years.
Miss was the last team in. We all know about that. They didn't win 60.
Yeah.
I mean,
60 wins in one season.
a couple years ago, Tennessee would have had a chance to do that if they hadn't got upset by Notre Dame. But winning 60 games is stout. I mean, you're 60-13. And then, again, we talked about this yesterday, and I double-checked it. I went back and looked at their pre-conference and everything. They lost one series all year. It was to Alabama by the skin of their teeth. They lost 7-6 on Sunday. They won every other series during the regular season. All of them.
Didn't lose 2 in a row.
No, I mean, that is amazing in college baseball with all the parity there is and in the Southeastern Conference. To me, that is why I picked them to win yesterday, because I felt like both were great teams, and at one time maybe A&M was the best team during the season, but the healthiest team, the team that was the most consistent was Tennessee, and they had to hold on for dear life. I mean, it was 6-1, and then it got real interesting, with the wild pitches and the walks, and A&M finally got some hits, though.
That's college baseball.
Yeah, but they survived. That's all that matters, and they win it 6-5, and I give A&M credit for continuing to battle, because after that great slide and and Dylan Dreiling with a 2-run homer, you just think about the game of inches, because if they hadn't moved Lavalette to center field, he might have caught the ball at the wall, because he's 6'6". Nope, didn't catch that. And then the great slide where if
they tag him out, it's a tie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If the ball's just slightly inside, he's out, and then it could be a potential tie game. So Tennessee did all the little things that you're supposed to do. And, the wild pitches certainly didn't help and gave everybody Maalox moments and stuff, but they held on. And, and I give Tennessee a lot of credit that, to me, they were the best team in the country. And, winning 60 games, going 60-13, wow. I mean, and winning every tournament you played in, pretty much. I mean, and then only losing one series all year. And it was, of course, the first one of the year in the SEC, but to be consistent enough, I mean, that's some strong stuff.
So the SEC now 5 straight national championships, 5 straight different teams.
6 out of 7, 6 different teams.
Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Florida.
Right.
And it's kind of funny that Florida started this 5 straight run.
2017.
Florida, remember, it was Florida that started the run for the college football titles for the SEC to go dominant.
Yeah, I mean, it's
just kind of ironic that they started the baseball one and then they started the
they started
one.
the 6 out of 7. I mean, this is and again, it's all different squads, and it just shows the parity in the Southeastern Conference and how tough it is. And Jim Schlossnagle is an outstanding coach. And so, and he's had teams at TCU that were good enough to do it and have reached a final. He hasn't won the College World Series yet, but it seems as though it's a matter of time with what they're giving him at A&M. So that's why I know he knows Del Conte and all that stuff, but I just can't see him leaving. I think they've given him everything he wants at A&M. I don't know why you would leave. I mean, unless he doesn't, for some reason. Remember, they just changed athletic directors with with Trev Alberts. I mean, unless there's already some sort of clash there, which I wouldn't think there would be.
I don't think there is.
I would doubt that. So to me, if I were Clemson, I'd be nervous, because of Eric Bakich and things of that nature. But Bakich is a Clemson guy, though. Let's not forget that too, because he was on Jack Leggett's staff. So this is going to be kind of fascinating because we're going to ask Jeff this later in a little bit, but I would think since it took a week before they officially parted ways with David Pierce that they have their guy who they strongly believe is going to be the coach. Because look, Scott, we know about this portal stuff. It works the same in baseball. Yeah. The portal's still open, and then it's going to open for Texas because of the 30-day thing or whatever.
Because of a coach going bye-bye, they have 30 days.
Yeah. And so they want to get their guy in place, and now the College World Series is over, so going to be really interesting.
All right, let's get a break in. And speaking of that, speaking of coaches getting fired in the portal, it brings up a question that it just popped in my mind, and I'll ask you about that next.
Okay. Strategy.
You're listening to Talk 97.7. ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandyman. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere. Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey Wes, our company Fleming Roofing and Restoration specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a 5th generation Huntsvillian, and our family's been doing construction business in Huntsville area since 1965.
Sam, what kind of roofs does Fleming Roofing and Restoration do?
Our guys are skilled enough. We can come out and address any kind of leaks or issues you might have on your commercial, on your metal roofing, on your shingles. We can do anything, and we can offer you a solution to repair it, or we can replace it.
Well, you guys also do insurance restoration.
Our staff has 10 plus years of experience as insurance adjusters, and we really do know the inside and out of the claims process at Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Check out Fleming Roofing and Restoration online at FlemingHSV.com or you can call or text them at 256-651-9440.
Hey, Wes, we show up.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And we were talking about the transfer portal, and it does every time a coach leaves, the transfer portal opens, right? You get 30 days because your coach leaves. Do you think programs, though, now will try, okay, you know you're going to move on from your coach, and so you're going to go out and start targeting who you want to be the next head coach without letting your head coach go first?
Well, I mean, in some cases you can do that. Alabama let go of their coach. We already talked about Brad Bohannon. He got let go during the season.
Right.
They had an interim coach in Jason Jackson, and they had pretty much already identified Rob Vaughn as the head coach with about a couple weeks left in the postseason journey. I mean, when, hot boards, all that stuff, all that buzz came out, that Rob Vaughn was the guy that was mentioned as a person of interest, is the way they put it. And I think the entire time Greg Byrne had been talking to him and his representation, and they had an understanding, and that's why they had already decided to offer Jason Jackson a $100,000 raise and an associate head coach title, and wanted to keep him, and already had that agreement in place. So when Rob Vaughn was named the coach, we know the portal was open last year. That way you can hit the ground running and try to retain your guys.
That's what I'm saying. It's,
and then
you try to minimize.
That's what
the
Texas
loss
is going
a
to try
little
to
bit.
do. But again, they could have let Pierce go, a week ago. But
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And made a hire. But I think they've been shooting for a couple other guys. And man, it will be fascinating if it's down the road and they were to get somebody like Schlossnagle to leave A&M, and then to go to Texas. But as we kind of were hinting before the break, we have audio of what Schlossnagle said, and it was a pretty strong rebuttal, I thought.
Yeah. Let's get to Jeff from the Borough real fast.
Yeah.
Good morning, Jeff.
Morning, Jeff.
Guys, I just want to say, Scott, it's not a requirement to ask a guy, because I wouldn't ask either one of them about the job after the ball game, either one of them.
Right, and they didn't ask Tony Vitello at all.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I said. To me, it's not required to ask either one of them about it. You shouldn't ask either one.
Right.
They neither. You just don't even ask it. Period. You don't have to. And we don't have to have always a controversy and audio and all this other mess. If you don't do it, then we don't have the controversy.
Right.
Just let it go. When they just played the national championship game, you're going to ask a dumb question like that?
I would agree with you, Jeff. I think that I don't think you maybe ask about the future of what do you think the future of A&M baseball is, and see what kind of answer he gives. But I just don't think at that time, when everything is so fresh and your season just came to an excruciating end if you're A&M, and then of course, and then they don't ask Tennessee's coach because heck, they just won the national championship and made history. So to me, you don't do that. Not at that time.
To me, it's just low class. But I mean, like as far as coaches, as far as transfer portal, I don't think you can stop it because I read a story, but the guy at Ohio State,
right,
the school he was at, every one of their players are gone. Every one of them. They don't even have anybody in the roster. They're all gone. You can't stop it.
Right. I just didn't know if you held off. In my mind, I'm thinking if you're a school and you know the transfer portal window is going to open, if you hold off on firing Coach A for a couple weeks, but you go out and I know that I'm going to hire this guy right here,
right,
and I get it all lined up, and now all of a sudden on a Friday, I'm sitting here and bam, I let the coach go on Saturday morning. We signed said new coach. Yes, the transfer portal window is open, but we've already got a new coach on there, and he can go in there and convince these guys, hey, I'm the guy, don't leave.
Well, but the thing about it is, what about the guy you're firing? That's low class to him. You're treating him like trash.
In today's college athletics,
12 hours later,
Well, and Jeff is not
he's not wrong.
What I mean is he's not exaggerating. Like Bill Moisello left Ohio State to go back to TCU. See, we're actually circling around because TCU, obviously that's where Jim Schlossnagle left. He had been an assistant there before. He'd been with the Buckeyes 2 years. The results were just okay, not great, especially in the Big Ten when you're talking about a cold-weathered league. They were 29-26 this year. The other year they were 31-30, and so then Ohio State made a hire, and it looks like it's a native of Ohio. It's Justin Hare from Campbell, who had a really good team, and now Campbell's whole friggin' roster is gone. That's what Jeff's referring to. Campbell's whole friggin' team's gone.
Well, just like when Calipari left, they left Pope dry. Well, goodbye. We'll see you, babe. We'll see you. Goodbye, babe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play with Cal. Bye. What do you think? What do you think? We think if Pope had left for goodbye, all that Alabama players were gone.
Oh, I mean, look.
Well, no, I know, but I just.
I don't disagree. I mean, we've talked about Alabama actually did a good job in football of minimizing that. But you lose a lot of guys.
You're gonna lose a lot of guys. I'm just wondering.
What I did want to say too is I think as far as I don't think like you said the other guy A&M's older, but I think it's a possibility with Vitello just for the simple fact his age. Is what I think.
Yeah, he's in his mid-40s.
I don't know if he'd take it or not. He might not. And one thing I want to say, they talked about for 2 or 3 years improving their ballpark, and everybody knows they play in a bandbox. That's why they hit all those home runs. I'm not saying they got a great team. They do. They won it, but I'm saying they've talked about it for 2 or 3 years, improving that ballpark and doing stuff. So I don't know if he would take the job or not, but I would say his age to me is a positive for him to lead Tennessee. So I'll just hang up and say, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just saying that I'm wondering if schools will try to minimize it. You're never going to eliminate it. You're never going to eliminate guys going into the portal when you have a coaching change, especially on the football side. You're never going to eliminate it completely. But I'm wondering if there's a way that schools are going to figure out that they can minimize it by doing certain different things. And yes, I mean the kids, it's a cutthroat thing now. It's cutthroat. So what are you going to do? I mean, some things are going to not look as gracious as they were before because you're trying to protect your program at all costs now. That's all I'm saying. It's just what I'm thinking. All right, here is Jim Schlossnagle after last night's game.
Coach, with respect to the difficult outcome tonight, but with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggie Land?
I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But
well, apparently that is it's from the NCAA. It's just not the Tony Vitello stuff played over the air just fine. I got to figure out why that one didn't. We'll go back and let's get a break in. 256-576-4977.
Good.
.97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandy Man. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
98.7 ESPN Zone. All right, so the question of the morning is, would you or would you not ask a coach that comes into a post-game room losing a national championship game about another head coaching job?
Not like that. I would be much more politically correct.
Yeah. Well, here was, hopefully this will work again. Let's try take two.
Take two here.
Okay, last question.
Coach, with respect to the difficult outcome tonight, but with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Now, he didn't ask him specifically about the Texas job.
But everybody knew what he was talking about.
His future with
Right.
Texas A&M.
Yeah, so he tried to be politically correct, but he wasn't. Again, I would just have asked about the future of Texas A&M baseball with what he's built. I'm not going to sit there and during a time where right after a game of that magnitude and a season of like this, I'm not going to say, Coach, are you what about this other job that's open across the state? I'm just not going to ask it like that.
We hear it all the time on the football side.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not going to ask it in football either.
Right.
I'm just going to be I just think there's a certain decorum you need to use. And a lot of guys don't think there needs to be decorum. They're trying to, make a name for themselves, trying to get clicks. They say stupid things like Pat Forty does. They start trying to make fun of the SEC. And then you look like a jackass.
Poor Pat Forty.
Yeah, and then you start. Did you see that they've had X amount of teams lose in the first round of the regionals? Blah blah blah. And then you look like a dumbass because it ends up being an SEC invitational. Basically, the last three teams are from the Southeastern Conference. So again, I just think some of these guys, the way they approach things, I wouldn't do it that way. I mean, especially in a situation where it's very emotional after you lose a game like that. But, of course, they're wanting to make a headline, and they've probably got a dumbass editor that's telling them to ask a question like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But
well, I mean, the guy's article was probably about the Texas job opening and Jim Schlossnagle potentially filling it. I mean, that's probably the opening. All right, Richard is with us this morning. Good morning, Richard.
Morning, Richard.
Morning, guys. I mean, basically on that question, the answer already.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought it was a great answer. But if you remember back Saban in Miami, and those guys still probably write articles about it. He lied to us.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah, there are like two or three of them. I mean, they're still bent out of shape. But I mean, you can't answer the question, and they know it.
Yeah. And they won't stop asking it. I mean, they've been told not to ask it, and they still want to continue to hammer and hammer and hammer, and so.
Well, I mean, just like you, Drew, you find out something that's kind of, maybe works. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean,
you start. I said basically most of these people are still scared to get out of their house. They're probably wearing a mask, out. But like I said, they don't want to go do investigative, kind of actually, go out and work hard. And maybe find out if he is interested in the job. Out, you just kind of be lazy. Out, and like I said, you'll come on the radio. A lot of times, I've called these people, and haven't been able to find anything out, or you found out so and so. Sometimes you can't, announce it, but basically, you go out and start making phone calls.
Yeah, and the thing is too, what you do is a lot of times I know information, but I don't put it out on the airwaves because you're told not to, or you're told to keep it under your hat, or you just think that you should allow other people to have the moment. You're not going to try to steal somebody's thunder, especially if it's a kid committing or doing something. I mean, come on, you don't handle it in that way. You don't try to be the star and take the moment away. And again, it's certain people handle things a certain way, and I just if I'm told, hey, don't share this or keep this under your hat, then I keep it under my hat. I'm not gonna put it out on a public forum in either print or airwaves if I'm told not to.
But like I said, a lot of times they don't want to make the phone calls and do the hard work and actually, maybe make contacts over the years to find out, what's going on.
Right.
One thing you were talking about, famous baseball programs. How many did Arizona win, or is it Arizona State that used to be so good?
Well, they both were. I mean, Arizona State, I believe they won one in the 90s as well. They won that. That was their last one that they won. But Arizona has won more than Arizona State. They've both.
Arizona's last one is in 2012.
Yeah, and that was Andy Lopez. Jay Johnson. It was Jay
Andy
Johnson.
Lopez.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, I thought Jay Johnson won
one.
one.
It was Andy Lopez in 2012.
Okay, my bad. I thought he did win one, but I was wondering if Arizona won more than one. But yeah, Andy Lopez, who also won it at Pepperdine, and I guess that's right. Jay Johnson took over for Andy Lopez, but he didn't win it, but he got there. But yeah, Andy Lopez, Arizona won it in 12, and then I believe Arizona State won one in the late 90s as well. If I remember correctly.
One thing that's kind of surprising about, USC or even UCLA, it's just population, but you see the draft boards for baseball and the players drafted or the players, in organized baseball. In California, usually it's like first in the number of people drafted, then Texas, then Florida. It's warm weather states, but high, large populations also out. But you would think almost by default that USC should be good, just the number of folks running around.
Yeah, Arizona State lost it in 1998.
Yeah, they lost it to USC, but I thought they also won one. But I mean, yeah,
I'm not seeing them winning one.
Okay.
That's the SEC run there. I'm not seeing them having won one. Arizona actually won another one in 1986.
Oh yeah, I knew they did in the 70s and 80s.
Kendall.
Yeah, Jerry Kendall was their longtime
State.
coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Arizona State lost it in 78. Won it in 81 with Jim Brock.
70s and 80s and 90s, I guess the Pac-12 or whatever they were called.
Jim Kendall won 3 of them. And that's what I thought with Arizona before they won the one under Lopez.
Yeah, 1980 he won one.
1976. Yeah, they won it. They won it 3 times. Yeah, they won 3 times in a decade, pretty much, under Jim Kendall and then he went into broadcasting. When I grew up watching the College World Series, he actually started doing some broadcasting with them. But yeah, he was their longtime coach, and then Lopez won it in 12, and
he won it in 92 with Pepperdine.
Yeah, and they actually have the renovation and the money was actually and their facilities were upgraded under Greg Byrne, who was the AD at the time. They have one of the larger college baseball stadiums in the country. They seat nearly 10,000 at Arizona. So trust me, basketball and baseball are the 2 sports that they kind of cater to.
Lute Olson elevated basketball there.
Yeah,
exactly.
At
Arizona.
I went to a game out there when Alabama played. And it's I think the stadium seats I think Byrne did a renovation. They didn't build a new arena, but they did a renovation on it. It seats 15,000, so it's a larger arena.
Yeah.
Out no, and too, like you said about the the transfer portal, when to fire somebody, I guess with a 30-day window, unless you have to Scott said, unless you have the guy in mind, you're up the creek.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have the guy in mind, it's going to take a while, and then that just gives, I think, kids more time to think and transfer. If you have a guy right away, I think you can minimize how many guys transfer. You're still not going to prevent them, but I think you can minimize it.
One thing, you could have found out, which would have been a crazy time, but if Hurley would have taken the Laker job, a lot of teams didn't have any scholarships available, and a lot of the ones that do, it was like Prairie View and a lot of weird schools for guys that UConn's talent level wouldn't have gone to. So you would have kind of had a limited pool to select from, out where to go.
Yeah, no doubt.
These weird times.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you kind of do it like in football, if you do it in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Because because the problem is if you're targeting somebody going to a bowl, but they may not. Nowadays bowls don't really matter outside of the the playoffs. You might have somebody in before the season even ends, or right as it ends.
And then Scott mentioned Jim Brock, who is just like Jerry Kendall. Jim Brock is the Arizona State version. They were both Hall of Fame coaches, and,
right.
And Jim Brock coached Barry Bonds and all kind of great players at Arizona State. And Scott's right. The last time they reached the finals, it was my bad. They did lose to USC. I was thinking that they won one in those late 90s too, but they did not. They lost an all Pac-12 final back when they didn't have a series. It was just one game. USC beats Arizona State, and I think it was some obscene like baseball or like football type score, like 21-14 or something.
It was 21-14. Michael Gillespie was coaching Southern Cal.
Yeah,
and that was Rosenblatt Stadium.
Yeah, it was before the new stadium,
and that was before the NCAA decided to deaden
BB core the bats
and the baseball.
I think that game was kind of the final straw, where it was like a slow pitch softball
it was a
game.
Bing. I mean, the ding, the ding, 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 ding that you kept hearing. I mean, the bats were a different material.
But under Jim Brock, they did win, a couple of national championships in 77 and 81. But they won 3 in 65, 67, and 69. So they've won 5.
All right, Richard, thanks for the phone call, by the way, too.
But just about all theirs were in the before the modern era. But Arizona State has won 5. Arizona's won 4. But that's when we've kind of been talking about this, Scott, before the SEC started asserting itself in the 90s, because actually the SEC, the first one they ever won was in 1990 when Georgia won it.
Yeah,
and
before
came out
1989, the
SEC
SEC had zero. Kind of like softball. They had zero national championships.
Think about that.
Zero.
We're talking about, before it was dominated by the West Coast.
Yes, Georgia was the first team to win. Steve Weber, head coach, Georgia Bulldogs. They went 52-19 in 1990.
Yep.
They beat Oklahoma State 2-1 to win the SEC's first baseball national championship.
And then it set off
Skip Bertman, and then LSU comes in.
Starts winning.
They win 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
they win 91 and 93. But think about that though; those LSU teams, 53-17. 55. So LSU won 55 games in 91, 53 in 93.
Yeah.
But I think Tennessee also played on because LSU was 55-18.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee also played, I think, a lot more games. I think he can play more games now.
Well,
too,
I mean,
a little
Tennessee
bit
just
to get to the 60.
The reason they got to 60 is because they didn't lose series.
That's true, and they had the SEC tournament too. You go through the SEC tournament, and you win.
And remember, they lost a game in the SEC tournament early to Vanderbilt, but then came back and out of the losers bracket and won it.
Games, and that
gives and then again, when you're not losing series, when you continue to win 2 out of 3, you maximize the number, and you didn't lose games to weather. And then you maximize the games you play. They've won 60 games. That's the most of any SEC team ever.
All right, let's get a break in. Going to wrap up hour number 1, 256-576-4977.
You're listening to 97.7. ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandy Man. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
877-646-4977. That's the number of the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline.
And another thing, too, Scott, we've been discussing college baseball. Another thing that's different about college baseball than there is about college basketball and even college football is you don't ever see college coaches going to the major leagues. You know what I'm saying?
No,
you don't ever have to worry about that.
No,
you just don't.
You know, like Dan Hurley, he was heavily well,
by
I
the
don't say
lake.
heavily courted, but he was courted.
He was
by the
courted by
Lakers.
the. He was heavily courted. He just didn't want to go to that crap hole. JJ Redick can go and lose with the Lakers.
The question always is on the football side, it's, you know what, this coach here, can he succeed in the NFL? If he was to go to the NFL, can he succeed? Same way with college basketball. It's can they succeed? If they were to take over an NBA roster, can they succeed? Can they do it on the NBA level? You know, lots of times the NBA coaches will come back to the college side. Same way with the NFL. They'll come back to the college side. In college baseball, you don't see that movement very much. They don't.
Now,
they
lately,
don't go up to MLB or down.
All we've seen is seen some pitching coaches like Wes Johnson leave like the Minnesota Twins to go to LSU, and then within a year he's the head coach at Georgia. Okay. Now, we have seen some guys leave Major League Baseball to go to the college level. It doesn't happen a ton.
No.
But we have seen it.
Why is that?
Because look, man, I mean, the major leagues is the highest level of baseball. Everybody knows that. I think of the big three, baseball, football, basketball, baseball is the most alike. You know what I'm saying? It's a faster game on each level, but the style of play is the most alike as far as now, because they even have pitching clock rules now in college baseball. They don't really have it in high school baseball, but still, I think when you watch a college baseball game or a Major League Baseball game or a high school baseball game, they do look similar as far as the way it's played. Okay, it's not like in the NFL and college football. Now, it's finally started to perforate up in the NFL, some of these RPOs and some of all this stuff, but it's still not quite as wide open.
Yeah,
okay?
they've not fully gone in. I mean, there's some blend of it.
Yeah,
but it's
you don't see triple option crap, all this stuff.
No.
It still looks the same. And then in basketball, it's not even in the same realm. I mean, good God.
Not even in the same realm.
I mean, it doesn't even look like the same game.
No. No. Football's hard, though. Football is very difficult because, and you've said it a million times, when you get to the NFL, if you are an NFL coach versus a college coach, the NFL coach is just all about managing egos.
Yeah.
And it's about...
So in the NBA, same thing in the NBA.
Yeah. Oh, let's go to Chief Tuscaloosa.
Is this Randi? What's up, Randi?
What about it, fellas?
How you doing, man?
Here we go.
I hear you.
Good to hear you, man.
Y'all too. Hey, yeah, I've been kind of sick here lately, but
are you doing better?
Yeah, I'm getting over it.
Well, that's good.
That's good.
But I've been wanting to call y'all and talk to you a little bit about our new coach.
Yeah, you talking about
Kalen DeBoer?
I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer. Yeah, they kind of got him underestimated, I think. You see where they posted us in the rankings?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so you bring that up, and the Sporting News has released their top 25, their preseason top 25. Bill Bender did.
Yeah.
Okay? And
love Bill.
And the Sporting News puts Alabama at number 9 in the top 25. 1 spot ahead of LSU and 2 spots ahead of Missouri in the top 25, the preseason top 25.
Okay. Where do you think ought to be ranked, Scott?
I mean, it's hard to say, honestly. And Scott, you give your I
think 9 is about right.
I mean, I think when you have a new coach in a new place, there's always apprehension. I do think Alabama is at worst a top 10 team, though. I do think they have an outstanding roster, and I think they can win. I still think Jalen Milroe can make strides and continue to be the guy, But if he does struggle or get injured, I think Ty Simpson can do the job. I think they're in good shape at the quarterback position. And then I think they retained, we started off the show talking about transfer portal, and Jeff called in and was talking about Campbell's whole roster gone and Kentucky's whole basketball roster. But I do think Alabama retained the nuts and bolts of their roster well enough to be good.
And I'll say this, there's always that one team that is inside the preseason top 25 that does not finish there. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this year it's Missouri. Missouri will not finish inside the top 25. They're going to get ranked in the preseason. They're going to get ranked high, but they will not finish inside the top 25.
Hopefully for me, that's Tennessee.
Well, you think I'm crazy, but I'll tell you where I got them ranked.
Yeah.
Where do you got them ranked, Randy?
I got them ranked at number 4.
Oh, do you?
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I think they're a lot better than people think they're going to be.
And I think they have the talent to definitely make a run in the playoff. No question about it. We got to see how everything gels, but I definitely think they're a playoff team. I'm not as sold on Tennessee because Nico Iamaleava beat a team that couldn't outgain their punter. And then I don't think they're, very good on defense at times. I think they've been up and down in the Josh Heupel administration. I'm not saying they're going to have a losing season. I'm just saying I'm not sure that they're going to be a playoff team. And I'm not as sold on Tennessee and how good they're going to be. I got to see it, man. And then and again, got to see, the production at wide receiver, how healthy is Brew McCoy.
I take that back with Missouri. What do you? I just looked at their schedule.
Oh, I got.
I just looked at their schedule. Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of them got cream puff schedules.
Yeah. Thanks for the phone call, Randy. We're up
Good
against
to hear
that
from
hour.
you, bro.
But Missouri has Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, UMass, Auburn, Alabama, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Arkansas.
Well, I mean, it's a manageable schedule, and they have a lot of guys back. I think I like them better than I do Tennessee right now, but we'll see. I thought
their schedule was going to be harder than that, but that's a very manageable schedule for Brady Cook and Luther
Burden.
Yeah, that's a very manageable schedule. All right, hour 1 is done. Hour 2, we're going to kick off next.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandy Man. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show. Followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH Sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
And if it's a high-profile job that has the ability to pay, a institution that can pay, and that being Texas,
Yeah.
it is interesting because dominoes will fall. It's not because it's just Texas and it's all that other stuff, but Texas has the ability to go out and you would imagine get a guy of their choice. They can write a check, they can pay for whoever, and is that a guy, and the pipe dream is it a Tony Vitello? Is it a Jim Schlossnagle from Texas A&M? Is it a Jay Johnson type of guy? I mean, those are prominent names in the college baseball world that Texas could ultimately go out and say, I'll pay you whatever it takes to come to Texas. But does Texas get a guy like that?
History, resources, and commitment. And Texas is in the top 2 to 3 in baseball. No question.
Right.
I mean, that's one thing you just can't – there's no doubting it when it comes to college baseball. They've always emphasized it. I think they've had 6 coaches ever. And so that just – it's Cliff Gustafson was there forever. Augie Garrido, they got him to come over from Cal State Fullerton. He'd already been a national championship caliber coach. He continued that with Texas. This is a Camelot-type job in the sport, and we're going to have a first-time guest with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. He does a great job with Horns 247. Got to give a shout-out to my guy, Hank South, who we've featured on the show many times. He helped hook me up with him. He's a very busy guy, but he's going to come on and talk about this job search for Texas, and it's Jeff Howe, and he's on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jeff, you're with Drew and Scott in Huntsville, Alabama. How are you this morning?
You guys are doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no doubt. And this is a program that's had a stability. I mean, look, David Pierce was still there 8 years and went to 3 College World Series. In a lot of other places, he would have a job for as long as he wanted, but we understand it's different in Texas and the way they view college baseball. 38 appearances in the College World Series, tremendous. Why do you think, Jeff, that they took a week to finally make this official?
I think when you look at the David Pierce era, I think you got to go back to when he was hired. And,
right.
You know, the search for Augie Garrido's replacement, that was I can't imagine. And Texas has had high-profile searches for football that haven't gone well.
Yeah.
The baseball search in 2016 couldn't have gone worse. You know, you had an interim AD in Mike Perrin, who's a lifetime Longhorn, loves the program, bleeds burnt orange. But you know, and I like and respect Mike Perrin, but Mike Perrin needed to be running a baseball coaching search like I needed to be the head of NASA. It just wasn't.
Gotcha.
It was organized chaos, to put it lightly. And you know. And David did some really good things at Sam Houston, really good track record at Tulane. But you know, I think he was probably about the 6th or 7th, maybe 8th choice.
I know he wasn't. I know he wasn't in the top 2 or 3. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty far. It was pretty far down the list. And you know, so I think from the beginning, I think there were a lot of boosters, a lot of donors, a lot of people in pretty high places that weren't thrilled about the hire and the way the hiring process went down. So I think from that standpoint, he was a little bit behind the 8 ball. And you know, I think David Pierce can coach some baseball. David's a hell of a coach, and you know, he and I got along for whatever it's worth during his tenure. But I just know from the beginning there were a lot of people that just weren't excited about the hire, and I don't know ever really gave him a chance. And you know, the NIL funding really wasn't there. I mean, Texas has money, but she had some boosters that weren't really willing to spend money, quite frankly. As long as David Pierce is going to be the head baseball coach of Texas. I mean, I was told by enough people to where I believe it that he pretty much had little to nothing to do with any NIL deals in baseball that were being done. So I think it was just a deal where wasn't the first choice, had some opportunities to really break through. You know, they got to the semifinals in 21, and, you know, hey, they might have been the second best team in the country that year. They just couldn't beat the best team in the country that year, and that was Mississippi State. And they played Mississippi State 4 times and lost 3. And, you know, he did oversee the pitching. Pitching kind of went downhill from there. You know, they never really got it on track. He parted ways with Woody Williams as pitching coach last year. That was his 3rd pitching coach he had been through, and took it over himself. And he and I sat down in his office before the season and were talking about it. And I basically told him without saying it bluntly, I was like, you know, this is the kind of move that gets you fired if it doesn't work out. And he understood it and knew what the deal was. So at the end of the day, David Pierce, like you said, at a lot of places, 3 conference championships, 3 trips to Omaha in 8 full seasons. And honestly, I know a lot of coaches could say this, but you look at that team he had in 2020, it was basically the 2021 team that came back with Bryce Elder at the front of the rotation. So that was a team that, from a talent standpoint, probably could have won a national championship. But, I know a lot of coaches feel that way about that year. But that resume is good enough to keep you in a lot of places for a long time. It just wasn't the deal at Texas. And, look, things at Texas, it's like any blue blood school that things just work a certain way. And I think there were people that were waiting for this opportunity to get David Pierce out of there. But why they waited as long as they did, I think Chris Del Conte waited as long as he felt was necessary to go ahead. And I think you got to understand this too. You look at Chris Del Conte, the other coaching searches he's made at Texas. This is kind of how it's played out. He'll wait until pretty much 72 hours or so before he announces a decision to say what's going on with the previous coach. He did with women's basketball with Karen Aston before he hired Vic Schaefer. He did it with men's basketball with Shaka Smart before he hired Chris Beard. So this is typically how a Chris Del Conte search has gone, where you can split hairs and say, is it really a search if you're within 72 hours moving on from somebody and hiring the next person? So history tells you that Chris Del Conte has not made this type of move unless he's got somebody lined up. So I would expect things to come together fairly quickly, probably, like I said, within the next 72 hours before we find out who the next head baseball coach at Texas is.
Yeah, I think it's the Texas head baseball coach is very similar to an Alabama football coaching search where, you feel like you can go out and get that guy because of the program and where you're at and who you can get. I mean, is this a case where Texas goes out and, how high profile of a guy is Texas trying to target to be their next head baseball coach?
Yeah, I think the dynamics of Texas baseball, for people that don't understand, Texas, look, it is a football school, and people are passionate about football here. Don't get me wrong, but you talk about the baseball program. I know you guys mentioned 6 head coaches. Technically, it's 5 because for the 2 years Blair Cherry was head coach in the 40s, the only reason he was head coach is Ben Falk enlisted in the military to serve in World War II. So technically, it's been 5 full-time head coaches in the last 100 years.
That's crazy.
That's the kind of stability you've had here. And like you said, 38 trips to Omaha. People are really, really passionate about baseball at Texas. I believe, as of right now, and I haven't heard anything in the last 24 or so hours that leads me to believe anything different. I think it's been this case for the last couple of weeks. I think as of right now, it's going to be one of 3 guys as the next head coach of Texas. And obviously after last night, one of these guys, their odds have gone significantly down, if not evaporated. But I thought from the beginning it was going to be Tony Vitello, Jim Schlossnagle at Texas A&M, or Eric Bakich at Clemson. I felt like one of those 3 guys is going to be the next head coach at Texas. And I think you can all but eliminate Tony Vitello at this point. Obviously, the connections between Jim Schlossnagle and Chris Del Conte, very well publicized. And I feel like there's enough people at Texas in high places that feel like, hey, look, if you can't get Schloss, and I think whatever's going to happen there is going to get done pretty quick, then you can move on to the next guy. And I think the next guy at that point in that pool of top candidates would be Eric Bakich. If it gets beyond Eric Bakich, then all bets are off at this point. But I feel like it's going to be one of those 3 guys will be the next head coach of Texas.
And that's interesting, too, because Bakich is won at places like Maryland and Michigan where it's not easy to do, especially he nearly won a national championship at Michigan. He got, Clemson back on track quickly. They had a really good ball club this year, fell a little short of Omaha, but he does have a resume, maybe not quite as impressive as Vitello's or Schlossnagle, but still very, very good.
Yeah, I think the things about, and somebody asked me this yesterday on our message board, and then I tried to lay it out as best as possible. Said, okay, what are the strengths of the 3 guys? I think Tony Vitello is a lights-out recruiter.
Oh, yeah.
And brings the kind of juice that you would need to really get people pumped up about baseball. But let's put Vitello to the side because I don't believe that's happening at this point. It's a long shot. Jim Schlossnagle works the transfer portal as well as any coach in the country. And that's an area quite frankly, where Texas has really, really struggled. They haven't really struggled to get position players out of the portal, but pitching out of the transfer portal has been it's been lacking, to say the least. And I think Schloss could go a long way to help Texas remedy some of that. Not just in terms of getting guys that, you're going to need to pay for from an NIL standpoint, but, just getting guys that can fill your needs. Texas has been, and I know everybody in the country wants power arms at the back of your bullpen, but Texas has really struggled to find those type of guys, not just recruit them, but develop them and get them out of the portal. So I think Schloss could really build a roster out of the portal. And then Eric Bakich, I don't know that there's a coach in the country, one, that's better at just in-game decisions, feel for the game, managing the game, and then just getting the most out of what he's got. Like you said, it's not, I guess to equate what's it like to get a Big Ten school to the National Championship Series in Omaha, it's almost like if a G5 school got to the CFP finals in football. I mean, you're really, really going uphill in the Big Ten just because you're at a lot of disadvantages. But yeah, Bakich has been lights out everywhere he's been, and I feel like could really turn his roster around. What could he do with the kind of NIL advantages that I feel like Texas is getting ready to have now that you've got some people that are willing to pay up for baseball? So it's interesting to think about Eric Bakich. But I think right now, especially today, tomorrow, I think all eyes are going to be on Jim Schlossnagle to see how this thing plays out.
Man. What would be? I mean, how much is Texas willing to spend?
Come on, man!
I know. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see
they could have the first $2 million man.
How much are they willing to spend for the next head coach?
I would say probably in the $2 to $3 billion range, somewhere around there.
I'm just curious. I mean, that's insane. To think that's where college baseball is at.
But there's a lot of $1 million guys now. Finally, 1.5 and even 1.8. But I don't know that there's. Jeff, you would know more than I would. There's not a $2 million guy yet, is there?
Well, there, some of the private schools, I think a guy like Tim Cooley.
Well, that's true.
I think so some of the private schools is where, you really got to dig in, and it's not readily available like some of the state schools are. So I think there's a handful might be a stretch, but yeah, there's a few coaches making over $2 million. But I would venture to say, just the gut feel guess on where this goes. I would think the next head coach at Texas is probably in that 2.5, right around there, give or take a few $100,000. Now, I think I mean, from what I've heard, the commitment to baseball at Texas has always been strong.
Yes.
There are people that understand. Look, even though Texas has a lot of resources and a lot of tradition, and as good a fan base as any in college baseball, you're going from the frying pan into the fryer, going into the SEC. They get it, and I think there's just a lot of people at Texas that don't want the alternative for baseball, which is to have a baseball program that's at the bottom quarter of this league over the next few years. So as good as David Pierce was, get a guy that can get it flipped pretty quick and get you competing in the toughest league in the country.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because the Big 12 is a good league, but it's not the SEC. It's going to take a huge commitment, and boy, how spicy would it be if they did get Jim Schlossnagle away from A&M? This is already a very, very intense rivalry, but man, if we see a guy go from one end of the state to the other, and he's already done a great job too at TCU, wow, that would create even more spiciness in this rivalry.
Yeah.
And trust me, I think Texas fans got a taste of it, a couple of years ago, hiring Chris Beard away from Texas Tech to be the basketball coach. But trust me, I know you guys deal with it with Auburn and Alabama.
Yeah, we do.
Pettiness knows no bounds in the Texas A&M rivalry.
Oh, trust me, we've been part of SEC Media Days when it was announced that Texas was coming to the league.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Our A&M feedback was extremely spicy. Yeah.
So is there a party planned for July 1st when they finally get the official SEC label?
I don't. Here's the deal. I don't know if Texas fans are more excited to be joining the SEC or just leaving the Big 12. I think and I say that somewhat in jest, but I think there's just the animosity that's built up in this league where And let's be frank, the Big 12 was going to exist in its previous form as long as Texas and Oklahoma decided it was going to exist. And I don't say that from an arrogant standpoint. I mean,
right.
You've had multiple school presidents and ADs at other schools say that. So I think they're ready to, kind of let the hateful eight, as they've been known, kind of set out on their own and let the Big 12 be what it'll be and get some of that stability in the SEC. But, yeah, there's going to be a party on the 30th, and Greg Sankey's going to be down, and they'll have a nice big blowout at the stadium. But I think for Texas fans, they've been chomping at the bit for this to happen. And you can feel the anticipation building up in Austin. And I've told people, look, as excited as I am for the football, right, for the football games that are going to be played in this league and the places Texas can go. You think about going to Athens or Knoxville.
Yeah.
You obviously went to Tuscaloosa last year. I'm just excited, if not more excited, for the baseball series that are going to be played in this league. I mean, this league is already – the SEC is already the best league in the country, but you had Texas and Oklahoma, and I respect the heck out of what Skip Johnson has done at Oklahoma, just knowing Skip a little bit from his time at Texas. Every weekend you're going to have, super regional Omaha caliber series going on in this league. It's going to be a lot of fun to follow SEC baseball going forward.
Oh, it really is. I mean, Oklahoma's a really good program too. I mean, this is going to make softball and baseball, just far and away the toughest leagues. And you're going to see teams. I know Tennessee was the best team in the country this year. They won the SEC regular season and tournament, but you're going to see teams that like Florida this year. Florida finished in the in the Final Four, and they were one game over 500 because of how tough the SEC is, Jeff.
Yeah, and Ole Miss won a national championship a couple of years ago. It's pretty much the very last team getting into the field, and I remember that selection Monday, and there were a lot of pounding of fists and gnashing of teeth saying that Ole Miss didn't deserve to be in the field, and they ended up winning the whole thing. So yeah, all you got to do is just, if you can survive the league and get yourself into the tournament, you got a chance.
Yeah, you do really have a chance.
All right.
Well, Jeff, we appreciate the time. You guys do a great job at Horns 247. I know we've had Chip Brown on, and I know Hank's doing a great job with the recruiting. Coach Sark's got a lot of people pumped up about football, that's for sure. We look forward to Texas being in this league now. But just let everybody know how to follow you, and obviously there's going to be a lot of info flowing and coming out with this baseball search. It's probably going to quickly come to a close, as you said, in the next 72 hours or so.
Yeah, best way to do it is at horns247.com. It's horns247.com. Like you said, a ton of recruiting information. Chip and I are handling things on the baseball front. Football off season. It's coming at you fast. SEC Media Days will be here before we know it, and we're already in the home stretch to camp. So yeah, Horns 24/7 is horns247.com is the best way to get it. I'm on our socials are all Horns 247 Horns 247. So just any Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just Horns 247 is the letters and numbers to remember. And we're trust us as a staff. Hank's let us in a little bit on kind of day-to-day stuff going on and how kind of things work in the SEC, and just getting to interact with some of the fan bases already. I have noticed one thing really oddly. I think Texas and LSU fans have really bonded over some vitriol towards Texas A&M. So just some weird alliances already. But no, we're as a staff really looking forward to Texas going to the SEC and meeting some of the media people that we haven't had a chance to deal with yet, like you guys. So. Definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you don't have far to drive for media days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we'll see you in Dallas,
man.
We'll
see you in Dallas.
We are going to have a much farther drive.
Yeah.
We're going to be.
We're not used to this.
We're going to be
an hour and a
smoking
half
and
or 3
it.
hours is the most. I mean, it's 10 hours stuff. I don't know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to thank the commissioner that I could maybe eat breakfast at home and still get a full day's work in. So.
Yeah.
No doubt.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Anytime.
That was great.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
I mean, we've got to start making contact to Texas and Oklahoma. They're in the league. We've had a few over the year. Well, of course we do. I mean, we've had a few of them on anyways.
I know.
Because ultimately Alabama's played them. But
I know,
so
but we haven't caught up to our guy in Houston in a while.
Yeah. Brent
Zorneman. Yeah.
He's busy. He just watched the Aggies get almost to the promised land, just fall a little
At least
short.
we know it wasn't him.
He didn't ask that stupid question.
Yes, he didn't. Let's get a break in. More Talking Ball when we return.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandy Man. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show. Followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
Seven ESPN The Zone. Yeah, in case you are wondering,
Right.
we are, 5 days away, 5.5 days away from Texas and Oklahoma officially. That's how fast it is
You were
coming.
asking about that parade or whatever, the celebration.
That's what I wanted to know.
You're
What
right.
are they actually going to do? I mean,
Sankey's going to be there.
And it was interesting, though, that he says Texas is more happier to get away from the Big 12.
And just get out of that. They get out of the Bush leagues and go to the big
everything
leagues.
there, then, I mean.
Yeah. There you go.
Then come to the SEC. We did mention the fact that our good friend, Bill Bender did have the Sporting News Top 25 preseason out, and Georgia is ranked #1 in the Sporting News preseason Top 25, followed by Ohio State and Texas. So Texas coming in, according to the Sporting News, the highest ranked newcomer. Georgia is #1, followed by Oregon at #4, Notre Dame at #5. I don't get the love for Notre Dame, the preseason love. I get that they got Riley
When's the last
Leonard.
time they won anything again?
I know. I just don't get the preseason love for Notre Dame.
Well, Riley Leonard is talented. I mean, 2 years ago, he did an unbelievable job as a redshirt freshman for Duke, and then was a Heisman dark horse last year, but then got injured. I mean,
Right.
a lot of what his issues were injuries. And so he's gone to Notre Dame.
They hired Mike Denbrock as their offensive
from
coordinator.
LSU.
Yeah.
And so,
I just don't get the preseason love for Notre Dame. Number 5, I don't.
Well, I mean, it just depends how good Riley Leonard is and if he's healthy. I mean,
Right.
he is. I mean, before he had the injuries last year, a lot of people thought as a redshirt sophomore it was going to be his last year at Duke, and if he put up the same kind of numbers, he was going to be a first-round pick and be gone.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But then we all know Mike Elko left Duke. And of course Riley missed the majority of the year with injuries, wasn't himself. So I thought he might go to Texas A&M, but he did not. He ended up going to Notre Dame. Pretty much there was some kind of connection right away that with him in Notre Dame, that he was their top target in the transfer portal. He ends up going there, and so we'll see. I mean, I'm not really digging it either. And I like Riley Leonard a lot. I mean, he played in the Huntsville City Classic. Dude was a great athlete. Was underrated at Fairhope. It's going to be fascinating to watch, but
number 5 in the country,
and potentially
right now.
could Notre Dame be a playoff team? I mean, yeah,
Possibly.
I could see it, but I don't see them winning the national championship. But
They put Ole Miss at number 6,
Yeah.
followed by Florida State at number 7, Michigan at number 8, Alabama at 9, LSU at 10. Other SEC schools, Missouri's in there at 11, Tennessee at number 13. You got Clemson at 15. Then you have Oklahoma at number 18. You have, that's it, Texas A&M at number 25. So that's the preseason rankings there from the Sporting News and our good friend Bill Bender. So Mike Elko getting some love there from them in his first year as head coach.
Well, no, he's at Texas A&M though.
That's what I'm saying. Getting his first year there, Mike Elko getting some love in his first year there at Texas A&M, number
Right.
25 in the preseason.
Well, yeah, I mean, but look, if Dirt Neck had not done such a poor job, I mean, with all the players they bought and all the talent that they've had, they should be a lot better than top 25. They should be in the college football playoff conversation. But again, the program wasn't, run properly, and he ran Florida State into the ground. But we all know what Mike Norvell's done. He's fixed it. And Mike Elko, I will say, and to piggyback off what you're saying, he did a remarkable job at Duke. Let's not forget. I mean, he elevated that program. David Cutcliffe got them back to relevancy where they were going to bowl games, but Elko got them to another level. And then went to A&M because, let's be blunt, A&M had to pay so much money to Jimbo Fisher to buy him out. If things were different, of course, Dirt Neck would have won and won at the highest level for what they were paying him. But as has always kind of been the case with A&M football, they shoot for the moon, shoot for the stars, and then it doesn't work out. Well, it'll be funny though because as I've said, R.C. Slocum wasn't as ballyhooed when he got ascended to head coach from defensive coordinator, and he had a great run in College Station. We'll see if Elko has the same thing.
Yeah.
He did a good job under Jimbo as their DC there, and then did a really good job at Duke. So it wasn't as sexy a hire, but maybe it'll be a better fit.
All right, let's get a break in, shall we? When we come back, we will celebrate with Vince Ferrara as the Tennessee Volunteers win a baseball national championship.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandy Man. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
Buy one Metabo HPT 36-volt battery starter kit. Get a select bare tool free. And save on the DeWalt Tough Grip 110-piece drill driver bit set. Was $49.98, now just $29.98. Shop in-store, online, or on the Lowe's app and pick up in store. While supplies last, valid 1/17/22 through 1/28/22. U.S. only.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time, or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing. We have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates. Residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list, and maybe a little scary. But it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188. And you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
What's happening? What's happening?
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. And in case you missed it, in hour number one, there you go. No, we did not have silence in hour number one. I don't like it when the internet doesn't move.
Yeah, well, that's something we can't control.
As fast as I wanted it to go. But in case you did miss it in hour number one, here is what it is.
The pitch. Swing and a miss. That's the ball game. How about that? The Aggies scored 2 in the ninth, but the Volunteers, Tennessee, the climb is complete. They have reached the summit. The Volunteers are the very best in college baseball. And the championship flag has been planted on Rocky Top. For the 60th and final time this season, Tennessee says hello win column and hello national championship.
Balls Radio Network, John Wilkerson on that call.
And his partner on Sports Talk, and that would be from 5 to 8 Eastern, who does an outstanding job with them, and he's been kind enough to join us, 5 to 8 Central, pardon me. He's been kind enough to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline because he and John Wilkerson host Sports Talk each and every morning on the Sports Animal 99.1. He's usually his partner on the Vols IMG Radio Network with baseball. It is a monumental moment in Vols athletics. I mean, it's their first national championship, in men's athletics since, I believe, 98, which is the football national championship that was such a great run. This run under Tony Vitello has been building. They were the best team in the country this year. I thought after they came back and beat the Florida State, it was just their year. Certainly was. What a remarkable run, 60 wins, and we're going to talk about that and more with Vince Ferrara, who's been kind enough to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Vince, I don't know how many times you've listened to that call from your partner, but what a moment for the Vols.
Yeah, certainly social media last night. I heard it live, obviously listening to him while watching the game on TV, and then, we played it a couple, 2-3 times this morning, and yeah, in sports reports, all that kind of fun stuff. So it's well deserved. John doesn't miss those moments, and he is spectacular at them, and fans just are absolutely just adore him because of his passion and love, and he puts his being next to him so often for a lot of those great moments, he puts his everything, his entire being into those calls, and he's prepared for them also. So really cool. And then for this program, it was among the major sports that it goes back to 98. I think they got a track and field championship in 01, and the first overall athletic department title since 2009, which was indoor track and field. But the championships have been few and far between. We heard from some young listeners this morning who are like, hey, I was like a toddler when there was the college football championship, the BCS. This is the first championship I'm old enough to really appreciate, and so you kind of forget about that. That's how long it's been. But 24th overall in program history for the athletic department, and now it just kind of shows that things are different. You could talk about them, or you're going in the right direction, and everybody kind of has come together, and you're going in the right direction. No, now you're delivering results in addition to just competing for those championships, and really a lot of this has taken off. Even though Tony Vitello was pre-Danny White, a lot of the trajectory of the athletic department is since Danny White has come on board.
Yeah, and you look at what Tony Vitello has done to this baseball program, and we talked about it. They went 13 years without making the NCAA tournament. He comes along, and 3 college World Series berths and a national championship later, this Tennessee baseball program is resurrected.
It is, and for them to have the kind of sustained success in the best league on the planet is incredible. And, you think about the first SEC team to win 60 games in a season.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That's amazing.
Tennessee became just the 4th team ever to have a clean sweep of the SEC regular season, tournament, and College World Series championships. The last to do it was Vandy in 2019, and then LSU did it twice in 2009 and 1993. They've made the College World Series 3 of the last 4 years. The narrative of, just Tennessee, can just get there. They can't win the big one. And all that stuff is flushed. Recruiting was just going great and at a high level even before all this. But you have this run championship now. It's on a whole new level. They'll have to keep an eye on the draft for sure, because there's about 7 guys that they could lose early. Got to get some of them on campus, but and they'll lose a lot to the draft. A lot of guys will be taken in the first couple rounds. But, man, players get developed at Tennessee, and it's because not only Tony Vitello, he's had his core staff with him. Josh Elander, who was a name that came up for the South Carolina job, would be stunned if he doesn't get a big-time job this offseason or very soon. The recruiting coordinator, he actually was a captain on Jim Schlossnagel's TCU team. And Frank Anderson, as good a pitching coach as you'll find in the country, not a guy that goes over the top in analytics. A lot of people run their pitching staff based on analytics and pitching labs. He's about feel because he's put a bunch of pitchers into Major League Baseball. And that core has been all together, and their strength and conditioning coach, except for 1 year with the Cubs, Quentin Eberhardt, has been with them. All that stuff, you guys know how important that the staff continuity is for all sports, including football. They've had that, and that's something that a lot of schools have not had the luxury of doing, and players get better because of it.
Well, the stats Scott was talking about it just shows the job Tony Vitello's done. I mean, when you think about before he got there that they didn't go to the NCAA tournament for 13 straight years and see what he's done now, that's just, to me, that's the biggest feather in the cap there is 3 out of the last 4 to Omaha. They win it all, but wow, I mean, this program after Rod Delmonico was just sort of, he was going through the abyss, but now they found the right guy and taking it to the elite level.
Yeah, and he's almost caught Rod Delmonico already in postseason victory.
That's pretty amazing too, because Rod had a great run.
Yeah, absolutely. Rod Delmonico 29, and Tony Vitello had 27. Now has 27. So 27-11. That you'll go far in the NCAA tournament with that kind of record. But yeah, just there's so many more of those numbers that are just mind blowing, and the success that he has had at the University of Tennessee, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, Vince, you bring for the fans, and you talked a little bit about it and everything else, but I mean, for the fans there in Knoxville, the scene last night after they win it.
Yeah, everywhere. I mean, there was a gathering at Vol Village where they have so much before football games, on campus, and just fans reacting on social media. The fans that were there, Tony Vitello running into a bunch, just jumping into the stands. And then the people that were there to support them, Josh Heupel, Rick Barnes, Peyton Manning, all hanging out, Morgan Wallen and Danny White, AD was there. So they had a really cool photo together of Heupel, Barnes, and Tony Vitello cheesing big in the middle. And it wasn't like, hey, I'm here, I'm supposed to be here supporting other sports. Man, if you saw the bear hug that Josh Heupel gave Tony Vitello, I mean, he sent him into the air. It's like Roger Goodell hugs in the first round from some of the big draft picks, like J.C. Latham picking up Goodell or something. And those guys were. I haven't seen Rick Barnes smile like that at any point in a while. So that kind of stuff, it resonates, and fans love it. And it gives them now hope that now they can cash in other sports, and I promise you that is going to carry over into football. I'm not saying they're going to pick national championship for this year, but they're not going to stop themselves from dreaming
right.
and thinking playoffs, and they're not. It's not that far away for them. It's just a different world for them now. Fans, that it is truly different. It's not just, hey, we're coming together, we're all going in the right direction. Now you fans can dream big, and that's special when a fan base, any fan base, has the hope that they can dream big, that they can get the ultimate prize of a national championship in whatever sport.
Well, now and then they've committed, $100 million with improving Lindsey Nelson Stadium. They've been paying Tony Vitello. They kept him from going to LSU a couple years ago. The Texas job is open. We just talked to Jeff Howe at 24/7 Sports. He says now that he believes Tony Vitello is totally off the board. He certainly was a candidate, but with him winning the national championship and Tennessee being completely committed to winning at the highest level, he can't see Tony Vitello going to Texas. And when you think about the Texas history and their commitment and their resources, that's huge for how far this Vol program has come.
Yeah, that whole Texas thing was weird because people were like, well, Tony's not going to go there because the Texas job isn't open. But, you heard that Texas was waiting to part ways with David Pierce because if you have that job open, now anyone that you might be interested in that's still alive in the NCAA tournament, you become a distraction for them.
Right.
And then if they are, then they're not going to come to your school. So but it was just strange that the morning of Game 3, the national championship game, that news would come out. Like, they couldn't wait till Tuesday morning to do that. Now, Tony Vitello escaped because of the way the game ended. He didn't get asked about that. I never thought he was going anywhere anyway.
Right.
But, yeah, they're right. Now that he gets a championship, like, he's going to walk away. People were reporting that Tony Vitello was going to take the Texas job. Like, okay, so if he wins the national championship, he's just going to walk away from that and not see through those renovations? Please. So there'll be plenty of other guys that will be interested and take Texas's money other than Tony Vitello.
Yeah, I can't see that. Well, and then talk about, you kind of referenced the draft. I mean, of course, but the one thing we've seen is, look, I thought that Tennessee team from 2 years ago that fell short of winning it all and didn't get to Omaha, they were as talented a team as I've seen. And yet this team 2 years later is probably even more balanced, is even better. And the remarkable thing, they only lost one series the entire season. That was to Alabama, and that was just by they were a base hit away from winning that series very easily. That's remarkable to me that they only lose one series all year. That's why I picked them to win it, because they have been so consistent. They haven't had the 2-game losing streaks. They've always responded, and they responded again yesterday. And it was a game of inches, certainly. With the home run getting over the right field wall, where they had switched Chase Lavalette to center field, and then that slide will be replayed a million times for Tennessee.
Legendary slide. He's a former quarterback in high school. They called Drew Beam QB1, but Hunter Hensley was a really good quarterback also in high school, and he dialed it back up. And he said Dean Curley, who was next up to bat, was telling him, hey, stay on the outside. But then he saw the catcher, the throw kind of pulled him to the outside, so he's like, I got to make an adjustment. And he was able to kind of get skinny like running backs do through the hole and avoid that and have the balance and presence of mind to still touch home plate. It was unbelievable. And it was a difference in the game. That got him to 6 runs at the time. Amazing. And that guy still has a hurt hamstring from when he slammed into the wall with still his eye black on the wall. Yeah. He's a super guy too. He and Curley probably will be the only 2 position players that will be back next year. With Dreiling, who's a sophomore, but he's draft eligible. And
what a series he had. Wow.
Oh, yeah. MVP. And for the NCAA tournament overall, hit over 500. Jeez. So 542 in the NCAA. No, I'm sorry, in Omaha. He was 13 for 24. So 11 runs driven in. So many guys contributed to it. But, the little plays, Blake Burke advancing to third on a grounder to the left side, seeing that the third baseman was moving away from the bag at third and trying to field that ball. So he's like, there's not going to be anyone there, so I'm going to take that base. Normally, if it's in front of you, you don't try to go to third from second. He took the bag, got there safe, and ended up coming home on a sac fly by Dreiling. Again, that's another difference run there. So many of those plays, and they played excellent defense. It got hairy at the end. There's no doubt about it. I think some of those bullpen arms kind of were running out of gas, but at least they got another phenomenal start from Xander Sechrist that it got him deep enough into the ball game to where they could at least get to the finish line.
Well, no more questions about whether Tennessee can win it once they get to Omaha.
Yeah.
I mean, all those are done. They've won the whole thing now.
Or the number 1 overall seed.
It's 99.
That's the answer, too.
No question. Well, it's been a great one for Tennessee, and 6 out of 7 for the league. 6 different teams, and now the 6th one is the Tennessee Volunteers. They're national champs. I know it's been hectic, Vince, but we always appreciate your time and your insight into this run for the Vols. Let everybody know how to follow you guys' coverage, man.
Yeah, real quick, at Vince Sports, VINCE Sports, and then all our podcasts and everything else you can hear on 991thesportsanimal.com. Looking forward to segueing to football at some point, because we got Dallas and Media Days in a couple of weeks. Definitely look forward to seeing you guys there.
Thank you, Vince. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
See you guys.
Thanks, Vince. Vince Ferrara. Let's get a break in. Wrap it all up next.
Yeah, that's...
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7
ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandy Man. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
To see the impressive list of clients that have profited from the knowledge and integrity of Samples Properties. For commercial real estate development and consultation, trust your business to Samples Properties, with offices on Madison Street in downtown Huntsville. SamplesProperties.com.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The Atlanta Braves kicked off their road swing last night with the St. Louis Cardinals. They drop it 4-3 to the Atlanta Braves. The Braves scored 2 in the top of the ninth to make things interesting, but not able to come away with the win, so they'll try again tonight. The bad news is the Phillies did get a win yesterday, so the Braves had shrunk the Phillies' lead to 7 games in the NL East, but the Phillies win last night, so that pushes it back up to 8 games. And good news, though, the Braves do have a 4.5-game edge in that wild card lead. So while they are 8 games back of the Phillies for the division, they're 4.5 up in the wild card lead.
Yeah, they are. They're turning it around. I mean, it was a tough loss last night. Cards been playing good baseball lately, but look, man. If there's one thing you can't overreact in Major League Baseball, because It is the ultimate grind, 162
it is. We're not
games.
even into the doldrums
And then
of
look,
summer
man,
yet.
we still got the trade deadline coming up, so there's a lot of things that can happen. You can't panic.
Oh, by the way, in case you have missed it, and
Yeah.
I know you probably have, Texas is going to relaunch the Longhorn Network.
I heard they're streamlining it or something.
It's going to be
changed.
free now.
Oh.
It's going to be free.
Like a YouTube channel or something?
No, it's going to be on cable somewhere. It's going to be
Oh.
free, but it's going to be, they're going to show a lot of old games, and they're going to show some new stuff, but they are bringing it back.
Oh.
Longhorn Network.
Gotcha. It flopped.
It did. It did. So did the Pac-12 network.
Oh. I mean, there's not a Pac-12 anymore, Scott. There's an empty building.
Yes. Well, hey, they're still fighting. They still think they can salvage something. They have a commissioner.
Hey folks, Bobby White here for Woody Anderson Ford. Get ready to experience the ride of your life with our summer lineup. First up, the 2024 Bronco Sport. We've got nearly 75 to choose from. Bronco Sport is built for adventure with its rugged design, all-terrain capability, and advanced tech features. And right